Hey up everybody, welcome back to the I'll Do Cycling YouTube channel and welcome back to Velogames. We're back again and it's an important one. It's the Ronde van Vlaanderen, Tour of Flanders, whatever you want to call it, and coming today to tell you who to put on teams and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, it's an important one because it's a Category 1 race. There aren't many of these, just for the monuments and whatnot. So let's just go and say who I think you should pick. I'll give a couple of team options, and I'll just tell you who I think you should be picking. So, of course, we've got the top three again. We've got Wout van Aert, number one. We've got Alaphilippe, and we've got Mathieu van der Poel. You can pick one of these if you like. In my opinion, I think the best one is Wout van Aert because he did Gent Velogames, which is 250 odd kilometers, which is the same length as Flanders. It's not exactly the same it's not the same thing because Gent Velogames doesn't have as many bergs, but you know it's the distance. Van der Poel, on the other hand, didn't look great at Dwars Vlaanderen midweek on Wednesday, and so there's a bit more skepticism about him, but he might have recovered by then and could be a bit maybe somebody who people pick less, so a chance for you to pick up some more points if you go against the grain. And Alaphilippe, who, you know, De Koning always looks strong here, so he's always a part of that team. So, you know, if you pick one of those guys, like is currently in this kind of team here that I've got on screen, you could go with something like that. Who else? We've got Sagan. If you want to go with Sagan, go with Sagan. In my opinion, I don't see Sagan winning. I could see him. There's usually a group behind that sprints for minor placings, and I see Sagan being in that group, finishing, I don't know, maybe somewhere from 5th to 10th. Not great, but he is coming back. Race days in the legs and all that, so he's looking okay. Matthew's a very similar kind of guy who will more than likely finish in the top 10 with a sprint. He's part of a 24-pointer bracket, which includes Ollie Nason, Pedersen, and Greg van Avermaet. In my eyes, I won't go with Pedersen. I'd go with Ollie Nason or van Avermaet. If you have to pick one or the other, probably go with Ollie. Yeah. So pick one of those if you so wish, or if it fits into your team or not. 22 pointers. Lampard, Pidcock, Stuyven, Trentin looking super good. Hey, Formolo as well. Don't pick Formolo. Pidcock hasn't looked great. Trentin, Stuyven, or Lampard, in my opinion. Yeah, I would personally. I just have a feeling that Stuyven's going to do well. Not sure why, but it's just a gut feeling. Lampard has looked good recently. 5th place at Dwars Vlaanderen. Has looked just really, really up there and always in the races, but just never getting the result. Bit of bad luck here and there, wrong side of stuff. Possible that he comes back and does something. Stuyven looked great at Dwars Vlaanderen, which is why I'm thinking about putting him on my team. And Trentin crashed the other day. Whether he goes well here is he never really seems to go well here. Really, he has. I think his highest placing is 12th, 11th. Hasn't looked great in previous years, but you know, a new team, possible that he's turned this around. 20 pointers. I'd be going Asgreen, Benoit, Christoph, or Seneschal. Couple of risky ones would be Setmark, Pollitt, something like that. A bit more unknown what their form's like. Pollitt did look alright the other day, but you know, I'd be choosing somebody else who's safer. Seneschal's look really good, and he's got a fast finish, which means that if he is in that group behind, more than likely De Koning will be sprinting for him, so he could end up getting a top 10 quite easily. Stibar isn't taking part, so 18 pointers, maybe go with Kung. 16 pointers, there's two really good ones. That is Anthony Turgis and Dylan Van Baal. I think both of these are great options, very underpriced at the moment, especially after Van Baal's victory the other day. Turgis is just rolling in consistency at the moment. Not winning, but just being really consistent. So I think I like that those two. Maybe put those two on your team. And we're kind of getting to the point where there's some riders here which, maybe like a Christophe Laporte, just to rattle some off before I go into team options. Who else have we got? Gianni Vermeersch has looked okay recently. Who else have we got? Florian Vermeersch. Tosh van der Sande finished pretty high up. I think it was 6th place. 5th place. Something like that at Dwasdal. So he looks okay, and he's only races Ronde once and he DNF, so a bit unknown. But anyway, team options. So you have something like this. Dylan van Baal or Turgis, Wout van Aert or one of the others, and Lampard and Stuyven, 2 4-pointers, literally just thinking that they're going to get the breakaway. Breakaway might not be a great option to go for because you only get points if they reach halfway through the race, which you get 20 points for that because it's a category 1 race, and then from that they have to get to 50k to go, which is they usually don't do because usually attacks have come from a peloton by event and a selection has been made. So therefore, if you're going to go with breakaway riders, they usually only get you 20 points, and maybe it might be better to reallocate some budget and try to get some 6-pointers to retrieve some assist points. A rider who could get assist points if Christophe finishes on the podium would be Oliveira Traoré. Really sorry that I pronounced that probably incorrectly, but he could get you some assist points, so potentially go with him. Instead of Van Baal, because you could go with somebody else. You could go, instead of Lampard and Stuyven, you could go Greg Van Avermaet and a 20-pointer that I mentioned earlier. Seneschal, for example. You could go something like that. You could. So that would kind of be like option number 1 would be the 2 22-pointers here. Option number 2 would be this, what we've got on screen, with the 24 and the 20. Another option could be that you just don't go with one of the favourites, which I have done before. It's risky. So it could get you a lot of points because it gives you a greater number of riders to potentially finish in the top 10. So if you remove Wout van Aert and put on, let's go with Christophe, for example, and then take off Van Avermaet, put on Lampard instead, then all of a sudden you have 14 points available. Put those onto Norsgaard or something like that. Get Turgis on, and then maybe take off, I don't know, you could take off Seneschal and put on Trentin, Pidcock, whoever. You could go with something like that, which all of a sudden gives you Turgis, Trentin, Lampard, Christophe and Van Baal, who could they all finish in the top 10? Yeah, I reckon they all could. And your main question that you're asking yourself is that better than having one of the previous team options which has Wout van Aert in, or Van der Poel or Alaphilippe? If Wout van Aert wins, he gets 200 points. Is that offset by having 5 people finishing quite high up rather than the 4 which we had before? That's kind of a predicament that you put yourself into. So something like this has the potential to get you the most points, but if you wanted to go perhaps a bit safer, go with one of the 32 pointers. I probably won't go with 2 of them. I think that is too restricting on your team, but it is, I guess it's fairly safe, just because you're just picking the favourites, and if you don't really want to think too much about your team, just pick the favourites and just have done with it. I still haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. I'm stuck between having Wout van Aert on or not having Wout van Aert on, and kind of trying to make it so every person on the team is scoring points, because I don't want just dead space of just 4-point riders, 6-point riders, just doing nothing. And I'm just trying to use that crystal ball in my mind to create something really good so I can move back up in some league standings. Anyway, I think that's about everything. We'll have a Flanders preview up, Cam and I, in a little bit, so keep your masks on, stay safe, and I will talk to you in a little bit.